Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome back for another edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
And also joining us in studio, the other co-host. He is the senior sports editor of the ODPH podcast. He is your coach. He is my coach. He is the coach. Period. Coach Duffy.
I survived the trade deadline, and nothing came of it.
Yeah, that was shocking.
So, little depressing, not much to touch on. I'll talk about it later.
Absolutely. We got a lot to talk about in the land of sports, movies, TV, comics, pro wrestling, you name it. This is what the ODPH is all about. So definitely make sure you're following us on social media to continue the conversation after this great podcast. You can find all our links for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Podchaser, TikTok, Twitch, you name it.
Tout.
If
it's still around.
We have a tout somewhere, so that will be a search you'll have to do, but only if you swing by OchoDuroParlayHour.com, and always remember to use the hashtag ODPHPod. So that being said, we're going to kick off this edition of the ODPH podcast talking about Disney Plus's newest hit, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I've heard good things about the Mighty Ducks.
I'll give it a touch in my one shot because I did watch it. So I have some takes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
I did. I checked it out.
I'll definitely want to hear about that. But for right now, though, the king of the mouse network.
Oh, the other thing that's going on, sure.
Yes. Is obviously the continuation of the story of the mantle of Captain America post-Avengers Endgame. So we are going to be talking spoilers about Episode 2, titled The Star-Spangled Man, in 3, 2, 1. Pad. What did you think?
I love the episode. I thought it was really great from start to finish. A lot of ramifications, a lot of interesting stuff introduced in this episode, and I'm really excited to discuss it and see where it goes from here.
Coach, what did you think?
I have the same take as Pat. I thought this episode had a lot of finer nuances and a lot of subtle things that if you weren't paying attention or if you were overlooking, you missed a great episode because there was a lot of things in the details of this episode that are going to pay a lot of dividends moving forward. And the banter between the two of them, their relationship, the dynamic, the whole thing, a hell of an episode.
This definitely was a great episode. I think it was a lot stronger than the first one. I think that they did a little more character development because as much as I like to bash the U.S. agent because I'm not a fan of him in the comic books, Wyatt Russell brought that character to life in all his oozing snarkiness and overconfidence.
Deep-seatedness, darkness, yeah.
Yeah, because if you're not familiar with the new Captain America, God, that hurts saying.
Yeah.
The U.S. agent is a very polarizing character in comics.
I mean, I wasn't too versed with it myself, but I watched a couple videos on YouTube kind of explaining the character's history and where he's been and what he's gone through. And it seems like we're getting a little bit of that in the show. It's not just going to be, oh, hey, we're going to introduce him and we're just going to use him throughout the thing. Like, it seems like we're going to get a bit of a full run of his character.
I fear we are. And it makes sense for the story, but albeit it's going to differ away from the comic. But I definitely want to recommend everybody read the comic, and you'll understand what this character's significance is. Because it was a changing point for the Captain America mythos, and obviously it can show you with great power needs to come great responsibility. Otherwise, you have just...
That's Spider-Man.
I know it is, but it's all Marvel. It's all
Same house.
connected. It's the same house, but...
Sure.
Same church, different pew.
Exactly. But it can show you how it can go wrong in a very, very quick instant. Yeah. But as this episode kicks off, we see the U.S. agent is having a pep rally to announce that he's the new Captain America.
Good Morning America, too.
Well, I would say something tells me it's not him having a pep rally, that it's the government and the powers that be. Because they could have just as easily done this, like, if you've ever seen Good Morning America, in the middle of Times Square with the crowd around him. And, like, they've just as easily could have done that. But something tells me that this was like the powers that be in the military going, no, we got to roll out the red, white, and blue carpet for this.
Well, also, normally Good Morning America's shot and filmed in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little weird that it was at night. But
Yeah.
that's just something I took away.
No, I agree with you too. That threw me off for a little.
Especially since they're in Georgia, so it's not like, oh, this is
time difference. Yeah.
This isn't like it's somebody's out in L.A. and it's like 4 a.m. or something. No, like same time zone, my guy.
Now, I did watch one of the YouTube videos that kind of break down the episodes in a little more detail, and they talked about the subtleness of this scene in particular with the pep rally being similar to when they introduced Cap in the movie, how he was holding pep rallies, albeit a little bit different because it was obviously in war times, but this was more of like trying to hold a pep rally to introduce him in a positive manner. But then also the song that was playing, that the band was playing, was an updated version of Cap song that they would perform while he was doing his shtick.
I thought that it sounded vaguely familiar.
It sounded familiar. Great catch on that, because I was like, I know I've heard this before, but I couldn't.
Well, because when I heard it, I was like, fuck, that's got rhythm. And then when the guy pointed it out in the video, I go, no shit. Side note, my son hated the song. So little tidbit there, he was not a fan of the song. Did like the episode though.
Well, he might have just hated the character, John Walker, because as we see from when he's going back in his high school locker to just reminiscing about like what this mantle means, he gets on there with the reporter and he gives a whole made-up spiel of how.
Well, alleged made up. I
mean, he says,
I think there was some truth in what he said.
There might have been some truth, but I was like, oh, this is so PR written, it's not even funny.
It's just funny when she brought up his MIT, like all of his testing scores, and he just changed subjects so fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it was like, oh,
you tested off the charts in every category possible.
But, I don't want to talk about that. I don't have superpowers. I want to talk about something, and then he just changes the subject right off of that. I wonder why.
Yes, because there's a lot more to his character than meets the eye, but the one...
So he's a Transformer?
He quite possibly could be, because I will say the one line that threw me off is, or just got me all wound up, is like, he's like, I felt like Steve Rogers was like a brother to me. And I'm like, you stop.
Oh, dirty.
You stop right now, because everybody knows you stole the shield from Sam Wilson, a.k.a. the Falcon, a.k.a. Anthony Mackie, who played him, again, brilliantly, as they're now searching out the story behind the Flag Smashers. Mm-hmm. And now he is teaming up with Bucky Barnes,
who just showed up.
Yeah, the Winter Soldier.
Out of nowhere, just all of a sudden randomly popped up at the hangar.
I guess he finally answered Sam's text messages and phone calls.
Yeah.
Well, once he sees that the shield has now been given to somebody else, Bucky has got a lot of questions. Yes, which rightfully so, because Sebastian Stan obviously played this right to the T, because with Bucky seeing what that shield represents, and to his best friend in the entire world, to see it given away to some stranger, he is like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and I mean, Sam's trying to have his cake and eat it too, it feels like, because there's that scene when he goes down the stairs and his attaché buddy is tagging along with him, and there's the posters up on the wall where it's like, oh, meet the new Captain America. And you can tell he's disgusted by it. He's like, just for all the BS reasons and the political and the red tape reasons, B, that he's replacing his friend. But it's like, my guy, you could have taken that mantle up and run with it, but you chose not to.
Yeah.
But I also respect the Bucky's viewpoint of it too, like you guys are saying, because Steve was his friend, so he knows how much it meant to him to be able to become Captain America, and all the just like the nightmare that Rogers went through to become this person, and what it meant to him to be the person, and what Captain America means to him, because it gave him a second life, a second chance on life. So without Steve, he'd still be the Winter Soldier, a mindless soldier, a killing machine. So for him, that's what that. But I understand where his point of view, Falcon's point of view, was coming from it too, because it's like, I don't know if I could have lived up to the crest of the Captain America, and all that weighs on it. I mean, think about in the NBA, everybody's like, oh, you're the next Jordan, mm-hmm. And that mantle is so big for people to fill that, LeBron finally was like, I'm not the next Michael, I'm the next me. Like, you just can't fill those shoes. Yeah. So that's similar to what Falcon's dealing with here, is like, I don't want to be the next Captain America. I want to be the next me. I want to be the next Falcon.
Aaron Rodgers taking over for Brett Favre. Didi Gregorius taking over for Derek Jeter. Whoever took over for Wayne Gretzky when he left Edmonton.
Right. Well, Sidney Crosby was the heir apparent, and he was and even Sidney Crosby's like, I can't be Gretzky. Like, it just can't be done again. It can't be duplicated.
No.
So So for Falcon to be like having to put in this position of being the next Captain America, it was too much.
Yeah.
Too much to bear.
And it's something that we all have to remember, too, is Sam is just a normal man. He's not somebody that has super soldier serum in him.
Right.
He is just somebody that is just that much of a hero that he goes above and beyond his physical means. But to touch upon what you guys are saying, you're absolutely right. To inherit the mantle of Captain America and what that truly represents, not what you're being told on a sheet of paper, it does have a lot of weight to it. And some people just buckle underneath it, and there's no shame in it.
I mean, they built the Far From Home. That's what that whole Spider-Man movie was about, was him essentially becoming the next, Iron Man, and him being like, I'm not ready yet to be that person.
Right.
And especially to remember that we're coming back from the blip. So 5 years have now gone.
Yeah.
What is the state of the world you live in? And then let alone you're trying to inherit the mantle. It's a lot to bear. So, I mean, we understand Sam's point, and we also understand Bucky's. And this is one fantastic dynamic of the show, too, is that it does have that good cop, bad cop feel to it, so to speak.
It's such a Lethal Weapon vibe.
Right.
This entire episode, I'm just like... Because Bucky has this. It's almost funny though, because you see a little bit of both of them in like Murtaugh and the other one in each of them, and it's kind of funny because you see it in them. Like I definitely see Bucky being Murtaugh. Just I'm too old for this shit, But then you see Falcon being the young gunslinger, but at the same time on the flip side, you see a little Murtaugh in him too.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic dynamic when they're paired together, and it doesn't feel overplayed either. Like it feels very generic.
They're like, so in the next scene, obviously after they get to the hangar and they see the Flag Smashers, their fucking tit for tat was fantastic. Like their barbs back and forth.
Oh yeah,
the plane scene alone with Falcon jumping out and like what was the difference between you and Steve? And it was like, well, Steve had a plan, and then he jumps off the plane, and then he goes up to it, and obviously this is the Captain America Winter Soldier scene where he jumps out of the plane, and you think Bucky's gonna have this epic entrance, and nah, dude just falls to the fucking ground.
Cybernetic arm.
Yeah, he's like, all right, I got an arm here, I'll be fine.
Yeah, and then
just crashes,
and then you see Falcon's Red Wing just fly up, and he's like, I got all that.
Oh my god, that scene, that I was dying, I was in tears.
That was good. Well, and I mean, it's kind of playing off of the trope that fans and viewers of these movies and TV shows have, that like they jump out of something, the Deadpool moment, superhero landing, doesn't happen every time.
No, right. It's perfectly set up, too, because as they're going chasing the Flag Smashers, they do get played a little bit, because Carly Montague, who is the head Flag Smasher, as we know of thus far, played by Aaron Kellyman, set them up, because as they're stealing the shipment of medicine, at least we're perceiving it is, they're led into a trap, where Bucky is on the one tractor trailer with Carly, and then Falcon has to come and bail him out, where there's other super soldiers on there. Allegedly.
It was a
I'm
setup.
throwing up the quotation marks.
It was a setup, but I don't think they were initially expecting Falcon and Bucky.
I agree with you.
Because given how fast, Fake Cap showed up with his sidekick, I'm willing to bet they were like, all right, we know he's going to show.
Yeah, we see the U.S. agent or Fake Cap. We're going to roll with that because I don't even like referring to him as Cap.
Hold on, because I just want to talk about the fight scene too, when it was just the two of them. Because I mean, Sam's doing everything he can to try and survive here, and they're whipping the shit out of both of them.
Yeah.
And my favorite part though was when Red Wing comes in, and the big guy breaks Red Wing, and Bucky, while tied up, getting punched in the face, was like, oh my God, I wanted to do that for so long. And I, was like, dude, you're getting your ass kicked and you still have the time to be like, no, I'm glad you did that.
And I watched the episode twice, and I couldn't help but think both times I saw that scene when they're quipping one-liners back and forth, oh, nice of you to show up, yada, yada, yada. Like, do y'all not remember back in Civil War where Spider-Man's fighting the two of you, and I can't remember whether it was Sam or Bucky goes, there's not usually this much talking during a fight.
Yeah.
And now they're quipping one-liners.
Well, I mean, now they've adjusted to this life, And another thing, too, I mean, I thought that this scene, albeit it wasn't a ton of action. Like, I mean, there was a fight scene, but it wasn't like, the blow-ups and the explosions and all the craziness like we're so accustomed to. But this fight scene and the finer things of it, like I was saying, and I saw a lot of people on Twitter kind of killing it. There was a lot of subtle things that if you didn't pick up on, one thing being the shield being whipped past Bucky's face and him, right on his nose and not hitting him. And then the other one where it got whipped by him again, but that time he caught it and then handed it off. Another moment like that, like subtle things like that. The comments that each 4 characters were doing while that, and then obviously the U.S. agent, shooting.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was the one big dramatic moment that when he comes in, fake Cap, and his version of Bucky,
Right.
Battlestar, played by Clay Bennett, they come in and they're trying to save the day in their only way they know how, and you see fake Cap pull out a gun and start shooting.
Yep.
Which...
I'm like, ooh, we're already planting those things.
Yeah, we're hitting the ground running here, that this is not the Steve Rogers way. This is the John Walker way.
Yep.
Yeah.
So as they're going through trying to save the day, they're now interfering because I think that, like you touched upon, Pat, they were the original target.
Oh, yeah.
They were trying to draw them out.
Oh, yeah.
And that just Falcon and Winter Soldier just happened to be there. But still...
Because this is overseas in like Europe, like Eastern Europe, maybe close to Russia, somewhere around there. And the last week...
Munich.
It's Munich, yeah.
Okay,
There's
so
Munich.
yeah, so they're in Munich. And the last we saw Cap was in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, they were totally knew they were in the area, and they were like, all right, listen, we're going to steal this, but we got to plan and prep for fake Cap.
Right. But as we go through this great back and forth, and like Coach touched upon too, when John Walker is throwing the shield around, Bucky's having deja vu.
Yeah.
And it's definitely throwing him off that he's seeing this now in person. Because, I mean, obviously seeing it on TV is one thing.
Right, but seeing it in action.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then the little subtle tip of the hat to the Winter Soldier where he grabs it and then hands it off to him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thought it was perfect. And then the Flag Smashers get the upper hand on him. And then wind up escaping with the medicine. And everybody is kind of left on the white side.
Because Bucky gets stuck under the bus or the truck like we see. Falcon goes under there and rescues him out, and they just bail. They're like, yo, we're out.
Yeah. Well, he has to make the big save, and they're gone. And then
they get whipped off, and then the van gets taken off too far.
Yeah, and then you see the U.S. agent and Battlestar are not prepared for this. And then they're left, in retreat as well. And as you see Bucky or Falcon and the Winter Soldier walking away.
Which was fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
Them just walking because, they don't have a vehicle. Here they are just trying to get back to wherever they got to go. And boom, boom, boom. That was great.
Yeah, and then you see the Battlestar and John Walker and another
come
soldier.
in. Get in.
Get in. And, and they're just looking at him and saying no.
Fuck yourself.
Yes, and you see John Walker. I mean, Wyatt Russell playing just the obnoxious jerk. Phenomenal performance. Was just sitting there going, we should really work together. And he's just throwing it like, you need us. And
yeah, we can really help you,
Yeah, and he's like, and Sebastian Stan's in just perfect Bucky Barnes
You're not
form.
Captain America.
Yeah, you're not Captain America. Just rubbing the salt in the wound. And I loved it back and forth until finally.
Such a high schooler, middle schooler thing to say.
Yeah.
You're not the teacher, man.
But to know where, that's the era he grew up in.
Right, it was perfect.
Perfect. So as they say, they're going away, and you see the U.S. agent take off, and then the Flag Smashers.
Well, they do finally pick him up because this scene's important too because the U.S. agent, at first is building up their hey, we should work together, and then the two of them are kind of looking at each other, Sam and Bucky, and they're like, all right, well, maybe should we give this guy a chance? He's saying all the right things right now. But then he ends it with that last barb of, it would be really helpful for me if Cap's friends decided my side, and then that was the one thing that Sam, because Bucky had already gotten up at this point, Sam finally looked at him and goes, it's always that last line. And it's true in life, you always say that one thing too far that creates, that tension, and then it breaks that tension into the point of now, a cold standoff instead of being able to communicate together. And then boom, there goes Sam with Bucky.
Yeah, and that's just how they're going about this because they don't respect him, and
right.
nor should they, because he was gift wrapped the mantle. It's not like Steve gave it to him because Steve would only give it to somebody that he trusted, representing the ideals of the nation.
Hey, he did jump on a bomb though with a helmet.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I say. Steve was just one of the most badass characters in all of comics. So this was nothing new. John Walker, he'd probably try shooting it first before he jumped on it. That's just how he rolls. But as they start separating their ways, we see the Flag Smashers are now on the run and get a little more background on them, that somebody is after them.
Yep.
Now, this kind of went a little back and forth about the rumors, and I'll already kill one. It's not Mephisto, so everybody can pump the brakes.
Yeah, everybody just stop with that.
No.
Enough with that. It's not funny anymore.
Right. It's for another time, so you got to wait a year till Doctor Strange comes out. Then you can start that up again. But we do see somebody is texting the head of the Flag Smashers and saying, you have something I want, essentially.
And you took it from me. I'm going to get you for it.
Yes. So let me ask the panel, do we have any theories of who this might be?
Mephisto. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, it's not the Taskmaster. What's the other guy? The Headmonger or something I've seen on the internet. Now I can't remember.
I don't think it's
Power Broker.
Yes, it's
Power
a
Broker.
power broker. I don't think it's Hate Monger. That's another.
Yeah, it's a different thing. I
That's
couldn't
another-
remember
that's
the
a
name.
different
Power
villain.
Broker.
Now the Power Broker is very interesting. If you're not familiar who that is, essentially it's a superpowered steroid dealer.
Oh,
And this
okay.
was somebody in like the 80s that were basically creating superpowered villains for Hydra and other organizations. And this does tie in very closely to John Walker. Because in the comics, that's how he gets his powers.
Right.
Now, they haven't touched upon it here, but I think they've already...
they've been showing a lot of, like in the end trailers, like unlike WandaVision where the end credits really didn't have any subtle like things, this one does. Like if you watch the bonus scene, you'll see like the Power Broker, like there's a Power Broker headline with part of the paper ripped off, and there's another one that says like the Power Broker's here for you, and then it says like all, and then there's other clues to other things that have gone on that you're like, if you don't watch the end credits, you're kind of missing out on those subtle clues that have been happening.
Yeah, and it's definitely a footnote to the comics, and it plays right into the origin story and how this is ultimately going to wind up for the U.S. agent.
Yeah.
So I do applaud them for following the comics to that degree. So as we say, their story kind of differs there a little bit. There is a great escape that the head Flag Smasher Kari does.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
Sacrificing one of the guys stepping up to slow them down, which was interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting how they're trying to play this group out. Like I
Honor
say,
among thieves.
Yeah, it is. You're exactly right because, like I say, in the comics, the actual Flag Smasher character is very generic.
Yeah.
It's very create a wrestler, as we like to say.
It's almost to their credit of, maybe like for people, because obviously the world that we live in currently, would things be better off this way? Like there's a lot of people that live their life that way. So like for these people to be like, no, the world was better during the blimp. You almost you can empathize with them because you're like, maybe life was better during the blimp. I mean, we don't know what that life was like because
we didn't see it.
We only saw it from the perspective of, Cap and the superheroes that were trying to change things back. I mean, obviously we saw the one group meeting with Cap where, people were, basically having like a therapy session. But that was the only glimpse into the blimp life we saw.
And that was 5 years after it happened.
Right.
And plus, there's another thing too that I think the MCU has done a very good job camouflaging. We really don't know what the public thinks of these superheroes.
That's true.
Right.
We've never had anybody really assume.
Well, there was the one poster in the therapy session during Endgame where it was the silhouetted Avengers, on an empty street, and it said, "Where are they?"
Right. But like we say, we don't know exactly what the temp in the room is. Because,
Obviously, though, Thunderbolt, the Ross and his, Wakanda and the Accords, kind of
Sokovian
Accords kind of show their hand as far as what the government thinks of them. But not the
public at large. We really haven't
public
seen
at large.
We haven't seen a real crowd reaction to how the crowd feels since end of Avengers 1.
Yeah, because we've only seen it on post commercials, like what they thought of these superheroes.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
So we really don't know what the temp in the room is, as we like to say here on the ODPH. It's something that we're going to have to watch moving forward because it's a very fascinating point that they're trying to make with this group. And like I say, I applaud that they're actually doing something fresh with this very standard villain. So
No, I think it's great because, I mean, it's a direction of the show that we really haven't, or a direction of the MCU that we really haven't seen as far as making the, villain almost a way of an anti-hero in a way. You know what I mean? Like, all right, some people like could understand what Thanos was doing, but like you knew he was a bad guy because he was willing to kill to do it there. Like we don't really know, other than them being Robin Hoods essentially, what they're willing to do with the Flag Smashers.
yeah, and I think it's going to be something really interesting to see them do because, like I say, the comics really one and done.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing to write home about except the guy had a mace. That was it. But going back to the show, they did introduce us to a very important character in the Captain America Marvel history.
This scene was nuts.
Absolutely, because when Bucky and Sam start putting together about super soldiers, Bucky remembers there is one super soldier he knows that it was forgotten about. unjustly,
Mm-hmm.
and for everything he did to help the country,
Yeah.
they go to Baltimore, and they go and search for Isaiah Bradley, played by Carl Lumbly.
Yep.
And this was a very powerful scene.
Yeah.
Oof.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, so just reading off of the description on the Wikipedia page, it says Isaiah Bradley, portrayed by Carl Lumbly, is an aging veteran super soldier who served in the Korean War, during which time he was sent behind enemy lines to fight the brainwashed Bucky Barnes, whose metal arm he had damaged. He was later imprisoned by the U.S. government for 30 years, experimented on, and his existence kept a secret, with not even Steve Rogers knowing of him. He lives with his grandson Eli Bradley in Baltimore. And it says he first appears in the Disney Plus series Falcon Winter Soldier, where he refuses to help Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes when they seek him out. So Bucky goes to see him, knowing their history, and balls to Bucky for going to him, because had to feel you were going to get this reaction,
right.
that he's looking for help and he doesn't want to help him. Get out of my house! And the grandson's like, "Yo, all right, you got to leave." And Sam's ready to like whoop his ass.
Vibranium balls on Bucky, because I mean, to go there knowing your history and the fact that, you know, and the craziest thing was Bucky remembered the battle, because he remembered him, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing, because for the most part, I mean, yeah, I know he knows the names of his missions and stuff, but I mean, was that from getting Zemo's book? Like, we don't really know. So like, it was very interesting for him to have these memories be so detailed that he remembered this battle in particular.
Well, I think the one thing that we're seeing now is the more he's going to therapy, the more he's remembering.
Okay.
Well,
and that's the way I took it.
I thought he always like remembered certain portions of stuff, but it's kind of like with trauma for anybody that's ever had that happen. There are just certain parts that, like, something traumatic happens to you or something awful that happens, your brain and your psyche just goes about it to block it out of your mind. And like, he remembers bits and pieces of some of those missions, but it's just which parts he can't control.
Yeah. And then we got to see it, you know, his power, you know, his strength when he throws the tin into the wall and it sticks.
Like I say, it was a great introduction to a character that, like I say, was unjustly treated by the government for his service, and you could, like I said, Lumbly just absolutely was amazing.
Oh, he killed
the
it.
scene. Like
He
I said,
killed
if you're not familiar with the character of Isaiah Bradley, I mean, it's a great comic series to read and find out about. And they did introduce his grandson, Eli Bradley. So played by Elijah Richardson. We're going to see him later down the road.
Oh, for sure.
Because if you're not familiar with Young Avengers, and we've been screaming this for
Christ
how long
almighty,
now?
it's in red spray paint on the wall at this point.
Yeah, that you're going to see him.
Holy shit, it couldn't get any more obvious.
Down the road. So as they leave from that very powerful scene,
another powerful scene
another
happens.
one too is they get approached by the Baltimore police
because they're arguing on the streets. Hey, you know, Sam and Bucky obviously having the disagreement over the fact that Bradley has been kept secret for so long, especially from Sam. You know, so they exchange some barbs here, and tension raises, and the Baltimore police roll up on him on a stop sign, you know, and basically start to give Sam the third degree, you know, ignoring Bucky at all, you know, at all costs.
Which, not even ignoring him, just like treating him like, is this man bothering you, sir?
And I mean, obviously, let's spade a spade, you know, the scene here, you know, Sam being of black descent and Bucky being white, you know, them in Baltimore, where there's history, you know, get a little tension between the cops and Sam, to which Bucky then has to step in and say, do you know who this is?
And the cop about shits his pants.
Yeah, then him realizing that it's Sam kind of has to do a double take. And then, I don't know if you want to call it irony or, you know, a little bit of just more tension, I guess. End up picking up Bucky on his. He had a warrant out because he had missed his court-ordered therapy session. So
forgot about that.
It starts with Sam not realizing who he was, finding out that he's the Winter Soldier or Falcon, then backing down, and then, you know, escorting Bucky in handcuffs off to the police precinct.
Right. So as we go from there, he does go to the court-appointed therapy session with Sam,
which was also a tremendously done scene.
Absolutely.
Starts with them sitting, you know, her wanting to do the exercise, and Bucky, oh yeah, let's do this one. I want to do this one. Yeah. And them sitting, getting closer and closer and closer with their chair. Fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic.
Blank. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But then they actually break down a little bit, and you understand why. You understand why Bucky flips out at Sam for giving up the mantle. He's like,
And you see why Sam has his standpoint, too, with what we talked about with him not feeling like he can fit the shoes of Captain America.
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant to see how this is done. So they basically agree, we're going to agree to disagree just to get through this, and we're never going to talk to each other again.
Yeah, which was sad.
It's sad, but nobody's taking any seriousness with
Sure.
it. Because they work too well together. It's like they might hate each other, sure, but they respect each other too much to let it go.
And then the other thing that I walked away with this scene seeing was when they leave. And he looks at, the doctor, and the doctor Bucky, leaves, and he's had his rules, rule 1, rule 2, rule 3, and he, goes, what's rule 2 again? Because obviously now Sam had said a jab pretty, and, kind of hit Bucky pretty hard. And I don't remember exactly what Sam had said, but it was something that Bucky was like, wow, you didn't have to take it there. So then Sam sprints out of that was the line where Sam says, we'll never talk again. We'll finish this. And, for Bucky, that hurts because that's Bucky's only friend.
Yeah.
And although, Bucky's ignored him this entire time, he's going through some shit. So he needs, Sam's constant touching with the text messages and the calls reminds Bucky that he does have somebody in this world because, again, he is from 1930. Mm-hmm. So this is a difficult time for him right now. His best friend
is MIA.
Yeah, his best friend's MIA, and now he's alone, in the world. So for him to hit that line of, we'll never talk again once we're done with this and then walk out of the room hurts him, right?
Yes.
So as he gets up, he looks at the doctor and, can you remind me what rule 2 was? And the doctor says, don't hurt feelings. And Bucky looks and goes, thanks for the reminder. Almost as if a jab to the doctor saying, you didn't have to do this at this time. You know what I mean? And Aaron and I looked back at that scene and was like, yeah, man, Bucky's hurt. Like,
they had to have the therapy because Walker showed up, bailed him out of jail, and basically pulled some strings going, yeah, his court-mandated therapy sessions, over and done with. We need him out in the field. We need him doing stuff, and we can't have him hampered by these. And she's like, all right, one more, and then we can go.
Right, but I mean, for her, though, she didn't need to make it so spiteful and so venomous in that room, I mean, she created a lot of that tension by playing the games that she did to really, and that's why I was like, damn, man, like, why did you, like, she didn't have to do that. And now, you've got these two at tension, at odds. And, you got Bucky now looking at the fact that once this is done, I'm alone again.
Yeah, it was a very fantastic scene. And like you touched upon, John Walker bails him out and yet again is trying to make it his own quote-unquote Avengers. Oh, that just sounds dirty saying. And Sam and Bucky are both like, no, we're out. We have our own plan.
Yeah, but I love the way that they spun it. Because, like, Walker knows what they're doing. Like, he realizes that, they're trying to manipulate him because they're like, listen, you've got red tape and you've got your rules and you got to answer to people. We're free agents, so just let us go. And, he looks at him, and gives him the, yeah, okay. Walker, all right, whatever, guys. And, he knows what they're doing. But, I mean, it's true. Like, he does have to answer to a government, albeit, though, they'll probably let him have some slack as compared to the other Captain America who wasn't able to even be in the field until he just went on his own. So, like, these two are free agents. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, so they decide to go walk, and they go, well, we have to go find some answers, and they decide they have to go visit one Helmut Zemo.
There's only one place that we can get the answers, and they look at each other like, oh, we're going to see him, aren't we?
And Falcon's like, wait, are you for real? Like, are we doing this?
Yeah. And then we go to the final scene is we see Zemo behind bars waiting.
A lap of luxury.
Damn. Thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, what I liked about that scene too was it reminded me very much, in the video pointed out too, because I was like, God, this scene reminds me of something. It was very much Magneto in X-Men.
Yeah.
Where he knows. He knows Xavier's going to come visit him, and he's in this cell, and he's all calm and, under control because he knows he's the answer. So, like, that's what Zemo's doing right now. He's just counting his days until somebody comes visit him because he knows that he has the answers.
It was a fantastic play on it, I will say. Daniel Bruhl, I can't wait to see him on a screen officially because we know he is coming, and we're eventually getting that purple mask, too. I'm so stoked for that. But final thoughts on the episode.
Great episode. Loved all the action sequences and the one-liners. And I was just looking ahead to next week, and now it doesn't tell me anything. Two things. I think we're going to get our first appearance from Emily Van Camp as Sharon Carter. Slightly spoiled by the fact that it got announced she was going to be appearing on Good Morning America on Friday.
Oh, real?
Yeah, so it got announced Emily Van Camp is going to be on actual legit Good Morning America this Friday, which is the same day that show comes out. So willing to bet Sharon Carter shows up next week.
Solid play.
But I was looking at who's writing the next 2 episodes. Gentleman by the name of Derek Kolstad, who, if you haven't heard the name, he wrote a few movies called John Wick 1, John Wick 2, and John Wick 3.
So a lot of explosions.
There's going to be a lot of action sequences.
Probably a dog
Yeah.
is going to be at least referenced in some shape, way, or form.
Oh, my God. Can you just imagine? I don't even want to go that route. No, I mean, Coach, your thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, great episode overall. Obviously, the MCU is in full swing. They know exactly what they're doing, and this is going to play out, in a way that we're all going to be excited for.
And I like how they're not shying away from the social issues.
No, I
they
fully applaud that.
they very easily could and just not even go near it with a 39.5-foot pole, but they're like, nah, we're going in there.
I walked when that scene happened. Aaron goes, you didn't know that was happening? They talked about this up front that they were going to be doing it. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I knew that they would, but I didn't think they were going to tackle it as aggressive as they would, being the fact that this is Disney. And no, they went full deep dive in there, and that's great. I mean, good for them for doing it. It's the right thing to do to address it, and the episode overall was great.
Well, they're going full tilt, and I know that the powers that be are reacting to it because there was an article that came out from either the series producer or director, whoever, that when the higher-ups saw the scene from last week with the loan, Feige called them. There was a couple head higher-ups at Marvel and Disney that were calling him going, wait a minute, hold on a second.
Yeah, no, I think it was fantastic they're doing this. And if you want to find out more about the character of Isaiah Bradley, the series is Truth, Red, White, and Black. It came out 2003 by Marvel, so definitely go check that out at your comic shops or on Marvel Unlimited. Fantastic episode. Like I say, it really started to give some layers to a lot of characters that you might not be familiar with unless you've read the comics. Like I said, the take they were doing on the Flag Smashers I thought was great. Seeing Isaiah Bradley and, like I said, Carl Lumbye absolutely crushed that scene. That whole time he was on screen, he absolutely just stole the episode, in my opinion. And where they're going to go from here, we know Young Avengers is going to be tying in, so we're going to see more of Eli down the road. But for right now, it's the countdown to meet up with Zemo. Next week's episode is going to be 54 minutes, from what I've heard.
Ooh.
So it's going to be a long one. Expect a lot of action because I think they're going to kick in high gear because with only 6 episodes, we're now in the midway point. So we got to really be picking up the speed here. But let us know what you think. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPHpod. What is your thoughts about Episode 2, The Star-Spangled Man, from Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney+. We definitely want to have that conversation. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Looking for a podcast all about nerddom?
Want a podcast with an emphasis on representation?
The Nerd Alternative is the podcast for you. Join me, Ram.
Me, Hassan.
And me, Levi.
3 black British nerds tackling the pop culture we love and sharing why we love them. The Nerd Alternative, a sweet melting pot of all things nerdy.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and time to talk a little UFC news.
Yeah.
Now, this past week was UFC 260 live on pay-per-view on ESPN Plus, and with a headline match that has now sent ripples across the MMA community. Your champion, Stipe Miocic, was defending the belt against the unstoppable Francis Ngannou. We'd like to call him the Soul Taker here on 607 Podcast between us, 3FN, Horror Zone 607. And man, oh man, did this fight ever deliver, and then what came after it too.
Cool.
So, Pad?
Yeah, so this was, of course, the main event, like you mentioned. This was for the heavyweight championship with Stipe Miocic defending, and the fight went longer than normal for Francis Ngannou. He's now upped his total ring time in the UFC by 5 minutes, so he's now up to 7 minutes total ring time. But he knocked out Stipe Miocic 52 seconds into the second round. And I got to say, I wasn't able to watch the fight live because I had to be up real early the next morning, but I did catch the highlights. Once Stipe tried to take him down and Ngannou stuffed him, I'm like, all right, I realize I know the results of this, but it's over.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, your thoughts?
Yeah, the fact that Ngannou was able to handle everything that Stipe had to offer is scary. And
Stipe shouldn't have had that lasagna.
Yeah. And what's even scarier is this isn't Ngannou's final form.
No.
He is this is like Cell, man. I mean, this is dangerous for the UFC heavyweight division because this dude's just evolving and just getting better, and it's only a matter of time until it all clicks. And he will just, I mean, I know he's 34 years old, but he will run this division. Run it.
He absolutely made a statement with this. I mean, we knew with Stipe Miocic, I mean, one of the most decorated heavyweights in all the UFC and MMA, and obviously going through battles with Daniel Cormier, and just we weren't sure what we were going to have at this stage. Could Stipe beat Ngannou, and then what was next? And for Ngannou, who has been on a tear since they last fought,
Yeah.
I mean, to see the change in demeanor and everything Ngannou's doing, the only question mark we had going into this fight was
wrestling.
Could Ngannou handle the wrestling?
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
and-
could Ngannou handle the wrestling? Could Ngannou handle the pace? Because those were the two things that worked against them in the first fight. Because Stipe was very much in his face, closing the distance, pressuring Ngannou, making him throw off his back foot versus what Ngannou would like to do, which is just being able to throw bombs.
Yeah.
You can't really throw bombs when somebody's in your face trying to take you down.
No.
So, I mean, those were the two things. Was Ngannou going to be able to handle that? And yes, he could.
Yeah. No, I mean, like Ken said, Ngannou's been on a tear since his back-to-back losses to Stipe and Derek Lewis, knocking out 1, 2, 3, 4, now 5 guys in a row.
Yeah, in devastating fashion. These are not stoppages. These are literally, you see the soul leave the body.
Yeah.
Alistair Overeem knockout might be the scariest thing I've ever seen.
And now you see videos of Mike Tyson showing him moves. Yes, let's make the scariest man in the UFC even scarier by giving him Tyson skills.
Well, this is the ramifications coming from this fight. With Stipe, we don't know what his future lies. I mean, obviously,
I know where it lies. Paydays.
Well, in paydays, sure, but where does he go from here? Because you know he's got to work his way back to getting a title shot if he really wants to go that route. But he's already been champion for so long, it's hard to stay motivated. And obviously, he's took a long time off after the last fight.
That's true.
Well, no, I mean, so I was listening to Ariel and Cormier today, and they talked about, this was only 7 months. The last time that DC and DC fought Stipe.
It feels longer.
Yeah, it does. But, that's what I said, too. I was like, oh, my God. So the last time Stipe and DC, too, there was a whole year between the second and third fight.
He's correct. Well, almost a year. DC and Cormier 1 was August 17th of 2019. DC Cormier 2 was August 15th of 2020.
Interesting.
So almost a year.
Yeah. So I mean, they talked about the fact that, you never really think about this, but the battles that the two of them went. I'm talking Stipe and DC. Took so much out of both fighters that's why DC was like, win or lose, I was out. I knew I was retiring. That's what DC said.
Yeah.
So for Stipe to come back in 7 months after that grueling 5-round fight or 4-round fight against DC the last time, to bounce back and fight Ngannou, who was obviously training and getting ready for Stipe, he just wasn't mentally ready. Almost like when Rocky fought
Clubber Lang.
Clubber Lang. Like,
yeah.
It was such a quick turnaround that first fight that, Rocky just wasn't prepared for it with all the shiny lights and everything. And this really felt like, in particular, this fight really felt like in the narrative this was Stipe's culmination of, and ceremonial championship fight of crowning the greatest world heavyweight. And here was Ngannou, and he's just fucking hungry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to give Stipe all the credit in the world. He did not take an easy path to get here. I'll just read through some of the folks he fought. He fought Stefan Struve in 2012, Roy Nelson, Junior Dos Santos, Mark Hunt, Andrei Arlovsky, Fabricio Verdum, Alistair Overeem, Junior Dos Santos, Francis Ngannou, Daniel Cormier 3 times, and now Francis Ngannou again. Like, that is not a easy path.
He's fought a who's who.
No, and I mean, I feel for him because, obviously working the full-time job and everything, it just gets to the point, and I mean, a lot of this, with CrossFit, like a lot of the athletes in the early days were full-time job athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would train and then they would work their full-time job. But it got to the point where people dedicate their lives to this, that, you can't be all right, I'm in a 9 to 5 and then train for an hour and still show up and win a CrossFit game event. Like, it just doesn't work anymore. So for us, in Stipe's sense, working a full-time job and a firefighter, a demanding job at that, and training, who knows what exactly his training schedule is like. But, I mean, between the commitments that he have of being a full-time firefighter, a family man, having a daughter and a son on the way, a wife, that he cares for. There's so many demands going so many ways that for him to be the world heavyweight champion at this level is hell of impressive. But it gets to the point where you fight somebody who their sole focus and their sole dedication and their only thing that they think about day and night is training, eating, and fighting. Mm-hmm. You can't keep up with that. And that's what Ngannou was. Ngannou right now was building for this moment. And his focus was this.
Oh, absolutely. This is something that he was prepared for. And like I said, Stipe did not look that good going into this. Like, there was something just about his body language when he was standing in the cage. Like, his hair was all messed up, and it looked like he was really just tired. And I think that was something that just stuck out with me watching it on the stream.
I mean, he said before he traveled that, like, in the interview that they did, the pre-fight interview, he worked Friday.
Yeah.
He flew out Saturday.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah, I agree. And like I say, he looked that. I mean, he just did not look right. And this obviously came back to haunt him because now Ngannou did one of the devastating knockouts I've ever seen. I honestly thought Miocic, how he landed on his knee.
Yeah.
I thought he blew his knee out. This reminded me of Krokop and Gabriel Gonzaga.
Right, where he fucking just buckled.
Straight up same thing. I was like, oh my God, he just blew his knee out. He's done. Because at this stage of the game, you don't really come back from that. But now Ngannou is the head person at the division. He is your champion.
So careful calling him head of the table. He might get Roman.
I know. I was going to say head of the table just because we talk so much wrestling here. And then immediately after the fight, Twitter went Twitter.
Yeah.
And I don't mean this in the negative sense per se, but there's one person that...
You mean you knew it was coming.
You knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Because whenever there's a big fight involving the light heavyweights or the heavyweights, somebody decides to tweet out something.
Yep. Yeah.
And who is this person, Pad?
Jon Bones Jones, who tweeted, quote, "Show me the money."
Yes, because he had vacated the light heavyweight title. He was saying he would definitely step up to the heavyweight division to get his fight on. And he wanted the world title shot the minute he walked in the door.
Yep.
Dana White had tentatively agreed to it.
Yeah. Now it's been reported that he gets the winner of this fight. Pen has not been put to paper.
Right. There's no contract signed.
Yeah. No.
Well, in the post-fight press conference, they addressed this. Yes. And they asked Dana the question, hey, did you see John's tweet? No, I didn't see it. It says, show me the money. And Dana laughs and chuckles, and I'm paraphrasing here, but says something to the effect.
I've got the full quote.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Quote: "If I'm Jon Jones and I'm home watching this fight, I start thinking of moving to 185."
Well, and then the other part of that quote is he said something to the effect of, we've seen a lot of fighters do this, where they've said, oh, I want this fight, I want that fight, and then it comes down to they didn't pay me, they didn't show me what I was looking for as far as cash, and that Dana basically says is a way for a fighter to get out of the fight. Mm-hmm. Now, I know we all have our opinions on this, and I guess I'm lucky enough to go first because I'm talking right now, but I think John's right. I think Jon has every right to demand that kind of money, and I think it's smart on him to do. Now, I don't think it's smart to be as public as he is because track record and history has shown the UFC does not fuck around when you go public. You do things behind closed doors. They'll cater, and they'll bend a little bit, But you've seen every time Conor goes public, what happens? Conor walks away looking not as great. You know what I mean? And as far as the eyes of the UFC fans, but when he does things closed door, with Dana, typically he pretty much gets what he wants. The Cerrone thing, he got a very lucrative payday that wasn't known. The Khabib fight. He got paid very well.
Oh, yeah.
Then you look at this most recent outrage, what happened with Poirier, where it was originally viral. The tweets happened. He reposted some of the things that Dana had privately DM'd him. Things didn't go so well. He still got paid in the Poirier fight, but it wasn't as great as it could. No. Now, Jon going public with this is a bold strategy. I think he's right, but then today he came out and said, I want somewhere between 8 and 12. Million.
No, he said 8 and 10 million's too low.
Yeah, and that's fucking nuts. Conor got 5 against Poirier, and Conor draws. Jon, I'm sorry.
Conor broke a streaming service.
Yeah, Jon, I'm sorry. I love you. You're a great fighter. You're going to go down as one of the best of all time, but you don't draw money the way that Conor does. So for you to say that 8 to 12 is too low, you're out of your mind. People are going to pay for this fight, and it's going to be a big payday.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not going to be Conor. And nothing will ever be that. So it's a bad move by him.
Yeah, a couple other tweets. Sunday at 5:52 p.m. I'm presuming.
Yeah,
Eastern
dude
time.
had to put the phone down.
He goes, quote, I am going to try to remain faithful. There's still time for the UFC to do the right thing. I am supposed to be seeing a fight proposal next week. Fingers are crossed. This is an opportunity of a lifetime for everyone involved. He then sent out a couple more tweets. I believe this was on Monday. Quote, just fucking let me go. What type of weird shit is this? Obviously the boss hates me. Let me take my business elsewhere. I'm not trying to be great for other people anymore. I'm trying to be great for myself. There's nothing great about being taken advantage of. You guys have no idea how insulted I feel. Should note, he's now moved into the number 1 pound for pound rankings now that Khabib is officially retired. And then today he tweets, quote, I had a brief phone meeting with UFC's lawyer Hunter a few days ago. As of right now, I expressed to him that anywhere around 8 to 10 million would be way too low for a fight of this magnitude. That's all that has been discussed so far. I'm supposed to be waiting for what their offer is going to be. Really hoping the numbers are nowhere near that low. I guess we'll see what happens. John, I love the hell out of you. I have the very fortunate pleasure of calling you a fellow alumni. For those of you who don't know, I went to the same high school, and in fact, I graduated 2 years after Jon Jones did. I had the fortunate pleasure of meeting he and his brother Art, a fantastic gentleman, very nice gentleman. Made it real easy for me to not get bullied as a freshman in high school. Once people knew I was friends with Art and Jon Jones. Didn't meet Chandler because he was 2 years behind me, and really didn't ever have anybody to meet him with. That being said, John, you're a fucking dumbass and you need to shut the hell up. You are getting gifted a golden opportunity on a a diamond platter. That you are getting the opportunity to come into a weight division, leapfrog everybody. Now, I get you're one of, if not the greatest fighter of all time. You at home can sit there and decide and come up for yourself whether he is or not. But he is one of the best, if not the best fighter of all time. But for you to come in, get gifted an opportunity to leapfrog the entire division, when there's a lot of good names in that division, Derek Lewis is one, to leapfrog guys like Derek Lewis and everybody else who probably deserves a shot at that title just because you're John, you really should be picking your battles and picking how you go about them. Because for you to go in there, whine, bitch, and moan on social media and try and make it public that 8 to 10 million's too low, I deserve more. You know what could happen? You could get left out to dry until your contract runs out and you don't get paid shit all.
I'm just showing the panel here in case anybody starts hearing the computer move. An article I dug up from last summer. And this was Jon Jones arguing about his money. And then they just reworked the deal after he vacated the light heavyweight title, if I'm not mistaken. And he infamously put, my pay's not worth it. Is that ringing a bell to anybody?
Vaguely, yeah.
It was something that, so I'll paraphrase it. I'm not going to exactly quote. But this feels like deja vu yet again. And why this is now happening again, I don't really understand. I'm not fathoming. It just sounds like you don't want to fight Francis Ngannou. I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to fight Francis Ngannou. In fact, I would take Dana's advice and maybe not go to 185, but I'd go back to 205. But this is the question you have to ask because here's the thing. He very publicly said, I'm moving up to heavyweight and vacated the belt, and I thought they worked out the money deal last time. Apparently not. So now we're back at it again because
I think Ngannou scares him.
I think he does too.
I think he was banking on Stipe being there and being, I can out-wrestle Stipe. I can keep him at bay and with my long reach. But Ngannou, he just stuffed Stipe. Now I get Stipe ain't exactly an Olympic, medal wrestler, but he's still a pretty damn good wrestler. I think Ngannou scares him, and I think he's scared he's going to get knocked the fuck out, and it's going to tarnish his legacy a little bit.
I just think that he wants to get paid. I think that this is obviously a vocal thing among the fighters that he knows that this fight's going to be a big money fight, and he wants to get compensated as much. And yeah, in the back of his mind, there's the threat and the possibility that this might be his first loss. And I think for that, he wants to get compensated. I don't think he's scared because he's not, he's never turned out a fight. You know what I mean? He's fought everybody. He's fought a who's who in the light heavyweight division. He's never had a problem with it. I mean, Rampage hits like a Mack truck too, and he didn't step down for that either. So
thing of it is though, is if he goes, oh, I'm going to go heavyweight, I'll take on anybody, I'll fight anybody in that division. But the first guy you say, hey, you're going to fight him, you turn tail and run and go, nah, it's not because of him, it's because of the money. It's a little suspect.
I mean, it's like DC said. I listen. I'm going to keep referring to this because he made a lot of fucking good points on the show today.
Sure.
So. And that's how I got my clips about the fight because I couldn't watch it. But he said it best. Jon was 23 and fought at the time one of the greatest fighters of all time, Shogun Rua.
Yep.
And wasn't scared of shit. So you think that a 31-year-old Jones is scared of Ngannou? No. It's just Jon wants to get paid and paid the way that somebody of his stature should be paid. And I don't blame him for it. Like I said, I think that if he wants to earn that cash, do whatever you got to do, but just don't make it so public because now you kind of look like, like how you guys are viewing it, like a chicken shit.
Well, there's another point I'll bring up too, though, is with this nonsense he did last year again too.
Sure.
I understand that he has a right to request that kind of money. I do. I mean, like I said, last year it was him and Masvidal, if I'm not mistaken. They had to get their deals reworked, and
right.
then they finally decided to come back, and Jon has been sitting there waiting to go up to heavyweight. But I think the UFC might be a little gun-shy about paying Jon because, let's face it, he's had some history where he's been suspended.
Oh, 100%.
So do they want to invest? I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate here.
What you're saying now on the UFC side of things
that makes sense.
100% sense.
Yeah.
When you're arguing from their standpoint, because like Dana said in the press conference, Derek Lewis is right there.
Yeah.
And deserves a shot just as much as Jon does for all the things that Jon has done. So for you to sit here and say, pay me $12 million, if I'm the company, yeah, do I want to make this super fight? 100%. I know it's going to be a pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah, put it at Dallas Stadium, you'll make your money back and then some.
Yeah, you're gonna make everything back and then some. Absolutely. But over here, I've got Derek Lewis, who is
America's sweetheart.
A soundbite waiting to happen. Houston born and bred. I can put this fight in Dallas, and the people will come in droves to come see this fight versus him and Ngannou too.
You'll have to beat people up with a stick to keep them out of there.
This would be a way for Ngannou to get his second loss back,
Put it at Houston's,
and redeem himself.
where the Texans play.
Put it there. Yeah, put it in Arlen Park or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
Put it wherever. But you've got Houston's son, the one of two losses that Ngannou now has to avenge. And you got that storyline for you. You got the fact that Derek Lewis is a soundbite waiting to happen. You're going to have him over on ESPN's First Take, or whatever the fuck it's called in the morning show nowadays.
Get Up.
Get Up. Yeah, you're going to have him on that show.
Get Up, First Take.
You're going to have him
shows,
with. You're going to have him with SVP. You're going to have Derek Lewis all over the place, and he's gonna be a soundbite and everything. He's going to do all the things that Derek Lewis does. My balls are hot, baby.
Yeah.
He's going to be saying that all the time. It's going to be on T-shirts. On the flip side of it, though, you've got Jon sitting, waiting. And if Derek Lewis is willing to get paid less, why would you not just say, all right, Derek, Ngannou's going to be ready September 9th or whatever that event is in September. Derek Lewis is going to sign that line.
Well, that's what I think they should do. Because if Jon is holding out, I mean, he just has to remember, you did cost them a couple fights.
Sure.
Big pay-per-view fights.
And had them move an entire fucking event.
Yeah.
In the 12th hour.
So you don't really get to call that shot.
You got a lot of slack.
And listen, he doesn't draw.
No, you're right. He doesn't.
His last pay-per-view against Cruz was like not even a top 20 selling pay-per-view.
Or you mean Reyes?
Reyes, yeah. It wasn't even a top 20 event. In his last fight with Santos, so I just went and watched that last night. That was, the crowd was booing.
Yeah, no.
Now, I know Jon has lived long enough to become the villain.
Yes.
And that is a detriment to his, become a detriment to his character and his overall drawing power. But at the same time, he's done it to himself.
Yeah.
So I think for Jon right now, if you want to get back in the good graces of A, the fans, B, the company, I think you just take this fight at whatever the max deal that they're going to give you is, and you just fucking delete the Twitter app.
In this convenient, while doing a search for trying to find some Jon Jones pay-per-view buys, I found an article titled, How Does Jon Jones Pay-Per-View Buy History Compare with the Best-Selling UFC Events of All Time? So UFC 229, which was Khabib versus Conor McGregor, 2.4 million buys. UFC 214, Jon Jones versus Cormier 2, 860,000. 860,000.
God.
McGregor versus Diaz 2, 1.65 million buys. Jones versus Cormier 1, 800,000 buys. McGregor versus Poirier, 1.6 million buys. Jones versus Gustafsson 2, 700,000 buys. So yeah, John, you don't draw.
He doesn't draw. I mean,
That's so. Oh man.
yeah. Well, that's one thing about him. People either tune in because they want to see you win or they want to pay to see you lose.
Right. And that's what Conor. I mean, listen, the Conor guy in the room. I'm paying to see him win. At this point, I'm just paying to see him fight. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just paying to fucking see him do something.
July 10th.
Believe me. I hope it's for the McGregor belt. I hope that fucking thing happens, man. I'm here for that. But no, I mean, I pay to see Conor fight, but when Jon fights, I pay to see Jon fight, and I enjoy watching Jon fight, but I miss the Jon that went on and put fucking performances on. Not the Jon that stands around for 5 rounds, scoring points and not getting hit.
Yeah, no,
You know what I mean?
I agree with you.
And that's the last 4 performances since that first DC fight we've really seen out of him.
And then he plays off like, oh man, I really sucked. Oh, that was terrible. No shit, Sherlock.
But that's why this Ngannou fight, people are going to pay to watch Ngannou put you in the ground.
Yeah.
And I hate saying it because, again, I've said it how many times on the show?
Oh, yeah.
In our area, in Broome County, in 607, Jon is either loved or vilified. But at the flip side of it, if you don't love him, you're a fucking hater. And that's what you have to deal with in this town. Like, that's just the laws of our area.
To put it into nerdum talk, it's basically Jon Jones is a Snyder cut.
Yeah, no, it's like if you
You're not wrong.
if you love him, then you're fine. But if you vilify him in this town, you're a bad guy.
Yeah, because
You're a pariah.
Yeah, you're a pariah. And it's like, all right, so that's why you almost get put in this position of you have to cheer for Jon. And I do root for Jon because I want to see somebody successful come out of Broome County. It's fantastic. But at the flip side of it, the dude is a walking fuck up, and you can't deny it.
Yeah, no, it's good to see somebody come out of this area and have success.
Yeah.
It's always good. I know a slightly smaller degree, there was a pitcher from our area who made it to the major leagues and pitched for the Baltimore Orioles, Jim Johnson. Isaiah Kasavinsky played for the Seattle Seahawks, made it to the Super Bowl, 40 against the Steelers.
Yep.
There have been guys from the area who have made it successfully, but not to the degree that Jon has, which is great, which is awesome. When Jon first won that belt, I went, hey, people I know online and were UFC fans, this guy's from my hometown.
Wearing the tiger jacket.
He graduated from my high school. One of my high school gym teachers walked out with him. That teacher got shit for it the next day, but that's another story. But now it's like, I don't even want to say he's from my area because of all the shit he's pulled.
well, that's the problem that he has. He's become a very polarizing character. I know we throw that word around a lot, but literally,
he literally for our
the
area, world,
yeah.
he is polarizing. But
the
when
world?
you get in this small ass community that we're in, it's almost that times a billion.
Yeah, no, it's like I say, the easiest way to compare it is Jon Jones is a Snyder cut.
Yeah.
That is the easiest way to compare it if you're not from this area where we record from. But this is the question that Jon now has to answer is
Big time.
You are trying to call a shot that you don't have. You're not the big pay-per-view draw. There are certain people that can try drawing that. Brock Lesnar could.
Fuck yeah.
Conor McGregor can.
Yep.
And often dances on that needle, and Dana doesn't budge. I mean, I will give him credit for running that organization. He doesn't cater, at least in the public eye. Like
Right. When things go public, Dana does not fold. You almost it's like
And
a
that's what you
lion backed
need
into
to
a
do.
corner. Yeah, as an owner of a company, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's what Dana does. When you back him into a corner, he becomes very dangerous.
Yes.
And the more that Jon does this, the more he's going to see Derek Lewis's name is going to be creeping up and trending and on the upward tick, while his name's going to be kind of descending.
And that's what he has to deal with now because he's cooled off.
And the smartest thing Derek Lewis can do, just sit there and just shoot a message to Dana. Listen, tell me when, tell me where.
Well, that's all he said. Because, I mean, he's been asked about this, and he said, listen, just UFC knows how to get hold of me. Like, he's playing this so smart.
Yeah. Derek already said that after the he goes, I want shot and gun. I want the shot of the winner. I think I deserved it. And that was after a performance where he even himself was like, hey, I wasn't in it, but when it comes time for the belt, I want a shot.
Well, the one thing that you have to remember when Lewis and Ngannou fought the first time, they both respected each other's hands too much. It was boring. It was a bad fight. I think this one, though, since the belt's on the line, it'd be a whole different story for both guys.
No, this would be a totally. I
Yeah.
mean, but the difference is both guys have really evolved.
Yeah.
Even Derek Lewis, to his credit,
has developed some
has
wrestling.
developed enough to where he can
Some is the
defend
key word.
takedowns.
Yeah.
He can adequately defend takedowns, but his hands are even more dangerous than they were a year ago.
Yeah.
They're faster, they're sharper, and he doesn't take as many punches as he once did.
And this is the issue that Jon Jones is now looking that people are surpassing him.
Yeah.
You're not the biggest name in MMA anymore.
Well, it's no different than Conor.
No,
You take,
exactly.
You take a year off and so many things. And again, this is another thing. Ngannou's evolving, right? The cell reference, right? He's only getting better.
Yeah.
And the more that he fights, the stronger he gets. I mean, the guy's literally fucking Cell. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
You're not watching DBZ. You're not wrong.
Yeah, I know. And so you're sitting here and you're watching a guy who, when he fights somebody else, is evolving, picking up traits, getting better. John, you're sitting, you're watching, you haven't fought in a year. Your last fight against Reyes, controversial, could have potentially lost that fight.
Yeah.
So your last performance was not great, while Ngannou is only peaking. So this is a very dangerous game for you to play right now, because the longer this gets, the longer it takes, and the more that it looks like it is going to be you two. So let's just say September doesn't, the fight doesn't happen. Now we're talking November, December. Ngannou is only getting better, is only prepping more, is only more ready for you, especially if that's the way the fight is going to look. And then it's going to come octagon time, and boom.
Yeah.
It's going to be there before you know it, and you're not going to be ready because you haven't fought now in almost a year and a half.
And this is the dilemma John has now painted himself into the corner for, that he is playing chicken with the UFC. And the UFC is not going to blink. They never have. They might dance around it a little bit, so I shouldn't say never, but it's very rare that they back down on a stance. But especially in John's case, where, let's face it, there is a track record of him, unfortunately, screwing up pay-per-view schedules and in cards.
Right.
Because of boneheaded nonsense that he does. So for the UFC, I can understand why they said, hey, we're going to pay you. This is nothing to sneeze at. They're never going to pay boxing money for a match. They just don't. That's just how MMA is. But
it's also not going to draw boxing dollars.
Exactly. It's a weird apples and oranges. I know it's all produce, but still.
Right.
It's a weird divide, but still people are getting paid. It's not to say that the main event guys are not getting paid.
No, it's the advertising dollars. It's everything that goes into boxing that, is just because boxing, the longevity that it has, companies just associate themselves to it and dump money into it for whatever reason. I don't know, because I certainly don't watch it anymore. But in the MMA world, it's just difficult to get that kind of money in to pay the fighters the way that they're paid in boxing.
Right. Boxing is just, it's a very unique thing. Like, I still watch boxing when it's on, but there's very few fights that get me fired up to go spend money on.
Right. But even those fights that don't get you excited, those fighters are still getting paid more than MMA fighters.
Right.
But it's because there's just more money in the sport.
There's more money, and there's a lot of different factors that go on with it. Boxing is a tradition.
Yeah.
MMA is the ever-evolving sport, but when we have moments where the big fighters don't want to fight for various reasons, it does cast some doubt on the general public.
Or we have fights that are stopped controversially and not able to continue, eye pokes, knee strikes.
Yeah.
It's like that's what makes it tough for investors to get in and say, all right, we're going to dump a buttload of money in, because sometimes their big events don't pay out.
Yeah, and that's a question that we're going to have to ask about Jon Jones, because as we're recording, he still is not signed. He said, okay, just give me my release, X, Y, and Z. The future is up in the air, but Francis Ngannou is still the head of the division. He will gladly take that fight with Derek Lewis. We might get that sooner than later. I'm not saying we're going to get it July 10th, because could you only imagine they put Ngannou and McGregor on the same card?
Dude.
Oh my God.
I mean, no. Could you imagine Conor, Derek Lewis, and Ngannou on the same card?
Yeah,
Conor could fight the air, and people would still pay to see that kind of card.
And that's what I said. And you know what? Don't think that Dana wouldn't make that card just to spite John. Don't think he wouldn't do that.
No, because Conor's not going to be the co-main event. I mean, that's going to be why that won't happen.
Well, I know, but it's a weird precedent now, because I wasn't going to get into it on the show.
But hey, maybe Conor would, because Conor and John's had their beef. So maybe John, if Dana presented it to him with, hey, listen, we're doing this to mess with John, Conor might say, all right, fuck it.
He might. I mean, it's a weird thing to do, especially now that the May 15th card, I believe, which Nate Diaz is now headlining against Leon Edwards.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, which is going to be the headliner, and the co-main is the lightweight title.
Yeah.
Between Chandler and Oliveira.
That shit just escalated so fast, too, because I was on Twitter, and then I just saw Connor go on a tweeting rampage.
Yeah.
And saw he was talking about Nate Diaz, so obviously look it up, and I'm like, wait, when the fuck did this happen? When did we get ice cream? All of a sudden now Edwards is fighting you in the Oliveira Chandler fight, which I did know was in the making.
Yeah.
But now it has a set date.
Yep.
I mean, Dana's not playing around right now.
And that's what I say. So for John, it's either accept
Shut
what
up or
they offer.
shut up.
Exactly. Because you know what? The sport will move on without you. So many headlines coming out of UFC 260. Jeez, man, we didn't even get to the Sean O'Malley stuff. We don't even need to. Let's talk about Jon Jones. What does the future lie? Is he going to be the next one facing Francis Ngannou, or is Derek Lewis stepping up, or who do you think is going to be the next one to try taking a shot at the heavyweight king? Hit us up on that hashtag ODPHpod. Let us know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of watching the same old awesome movies? Are B-movies more your style? Then the folks over at They Call This a Movie have you covered. Join us every Thursday as we review the worst of the worst in sci-fi, action, comedy, and more. We are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Podbean at theycalledthisamovie.podbean.com. They Called This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Time to start those one-shots, Pad.
Got a couple things to talk about. First of which, we're going to talk a little bit about sports. Of course, baseball starts tomorrow. Let's go.
Baseball.
Let's go Yankees. Fuck the Houston Astros. I'm sorry, the Asterisks. Should be a lot of fun tomorrow. You got the Blue Jays are taking on the Yankees. You've got Detroit taking on the Indians. You've got Boston taking on Baltimore. You know, a lot of good matchups involved. Should be a lot of fun. Baseball all damn day, so it's going to be awesome. If I had to give a prediction for World Series, Dodgers why not? We haven't had it in a while. Dodgers, Yankees. Who wins? The fans win. Switching over to some entertainment news. This one definitely caught me by surprise. It is being reported in an exclusive from Deadline that Netflix is nearing a $400+ million deal to produce and put out the Knives Out 2 and 3 sequels. From Rian Johnson, who wrote and directed the original. He's already written the sequels 2 and 3. He's looking to start work on the sequel 2 here very shortly, and Daniel Craig would return to reprise his role as Benoit Blanc. So this definitely caught a lot of people by surprise. I guess there was a bit of a bidding war between 3 streaming services, Netflix, Apple, and Amazon, with Netflix emerging victorious. So definitely huge news. I am super excited. If you have not seen Knives Out 1, you should. It's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. Crazy the amount of money they're throwing around for that sequel, though, man.
Oh my God, yeah, no, it's
that
insane.
was nuts.
They'll make it back though, just with how well that first movie.
Well,
did.
I think that people are now seeing that with the HBO Max setup,
right,
you don't need to go to the box office. Like it's a weird thing, and I'm not
Right.
encouraging it because there's nothing like going to a movie theater to watch a movie. I'm sorry.
Nah, I mean, we got a pretty decent sized TV, and we just got a Google or a mini iPod Home kit. So I mean, we got surround sound going, so we've got quite a decent movie experience. But yeah, it's not the same thing.
yeah.
Definitely
The popcorn, baby. I miss the popcorn.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear you. Switching over to some Star Wars news, we got a very surprise out of left field casting announcement.
I knew you were talking about this. Bring it on, man. Let's go.
For the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series. Of course, returning to reprise his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor, returning to reprise his role as Darth Vader, maybe some back scenes as Anakin Skywalker. I don't know. Hayden Christensen. But some of the other folks that were announced for the show, you have Moses Ingram, who is going to be in the show. You might know her as playing Jolene in The Queen's Gambit, which was on Netflix.
Okay.
Great show. Highly recommend that one. You've got Joel Edgerton, who you all know the name, but he's played a certain guy named Owen Lars in episodes 2 and 3 of the films. You've also got Bonnie, and I'm going to butcher this last name, Bonnie Piesse, who you might not know the name, but she played a certain woman named Beru in episodes 2 and 3 of the prequels. So you've got Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru appearing in the show. That definitely of note. You've also got a woman by the name of Indria Varma, who was in movies such as Exodus, Gods and Kings, Rome, Bride and Prejudice in 2004. So definitely going to be exciting to see that. You've also got Rupert Friend in the show. Most notably, he was in the Hitman Agent 47 2015 film, Death of Stalin in 2017. Still got to see that. The trailer looked really funny. And also was in Pride and Prejudice back in 2005. And then you've also got this one. This one caught me by left field. I did not see this one coming. O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s in it. Ice Cube's kids in this show. I was very excited about that one. And last but certainly not least, Sung Kang is in the movie. Yes, Han is in Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Bring it on, man.
Oh, so excited.
Yeah, I was going to say, so your thoughts on the casting, obviously.
Great casting. Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, given the fact that Obi-Wan, presumably when this is taking place, he's on Tatooine, they're there, he's watching over Luke. Not a total surprise, but still cool to see them come back. I always like that, because I know they did it with Rogue One, where they brought in the woman who was like a background character in one of the prequel movies playing Mon Mothma. They brought her back for Rogue One because, hey, you're here, you're the right age, we don't have to do any sort of CGI gimmicks to make you look like Mon Mothma. You're literally Mon Mothma. I always enjoy when they do that, when they can bring back characters because they're like the right age or they don't really have to do anything. So it's going to be awesome to see. I genuinely don't know what they're going to do with this show, but the fact that you have Hayden Christensen returning is awesome. He plays a great Anakin Skywalker. I know he's got some terrible lines, but he's not responsible for the writing. Still very good. I'm excited to see him come back, and I cannot wait to see where they go with this.
They tell you they got so much Star Wars stuff coming out. Bad Batch trailer, too.
Yeah, May 4th, and that's supposedly going to be like 70 minutes for the first episode for an animated show. God.
70 minutes, Coach.
Goddamn.
Are you ready?
I can't handle that. 4 hours was just fine, but 70 minutes is too long.
Last but certainly not least, a new edition of Lord of the Rings is going to be coming out. The book, not the movie. Although, give me that goddamn unedited cut of Lord of the Rings. Fucking 8.5 days.
Release the Tolkien cut.
Release the Peter Jackson cut. Fucking 8 days. Let's go.
Oh God.
Give it to me. Listen, he has said that there's a longer cut of Fellowship of the Ring and Lord of the Rings if anybody wants it. Yeah, hi, I want it.
I'm out. I'm out.
Fucking give it to me.
Nope, tap.
But no, a new edition of this, reading from the article on IGN, a new edition of Lord of the Rings is coming out, which will feature 30 sketches and illustrations created by the author, J.R.R. Tolkien, not seen in previous editions of the book. This new release will be the first time that an edition of Lord of the Rings will feature this art since 1954. And even then, when Tolkien originally included the art with the book's first ever publication, it only featured 2 of his illustrations, this as reported by The Guardian. Those 2 illustrations, the Doors of Durin and the inscription on Balin's tomb, will be included in this new HarperCollins edition alongside 30 other sketches, illustrations, and maps. I can verify those 2 sketches they mentioned, so the Doors of Durin and the inscription on Balin's tomb, are still in the books. I got a box set of Hobbit plus the 3 Lord of the Rings books in one little nice grouping box set. Those are still in there. I don't know what the price is on this, but I'm gonna have to check this out. This sounds really cool.
It does sound very interesting, and like I say, you're Mr. Lord of the Rings, so if this is worth the time, we definitely gotta go check that out.
Absolutely.
Coach?
Yeah, so I will start with a little lacrosse news off the bat. The PLL Chris Hogan was picked up today on waivers from the Canon LC team. So Chris Hogan will be invited to training camp. Obviously, still needing to make the active roster, but
hey, good for him.
Yeah, now he's got a shot to at least do it. So hopeful that he can make the team legitimately. But we'll see. The NBA trade deadline was last week. We obviously kind of previewed it a little bit. Unfortunately, the Knicks were a little bit gun-shy.
It was quiet.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Lakers tried to pick me up to try and match what the Nets were doing. It didn't last long.
Yeah. Unfortunately, however, the Knicks mostly quiet. They did make the promise to move Austin Rivers on, and they were able to do that. He will be going to the OKC Thunder. The Knicks, unfortunately, gave up Ignas Braditskis out of Michigan, which I was upset for because I was hopeful that he was going to be one of the second-round late blooming blossoms that they've been lucky enough to strike on, like guys like Mitchell Robinson. Unfortunately, that will not pan out. The Knicks did, however, pick up Terrence Ferguson, Vincent Poirier, and rights to Imar Przizic and 2 second-round picks. both Terrence Ferguson and Vincent Poirier have been released. So they were waived after the trade deadline. So the Knicks basically dumped salary cap space, saved, I think, $1 million going into next offseason, and have more second-round picks. Yeah, I know. It's very depressing because I thought that was going to be a big move for Lonzo.
Since we don't have a camera here, I'm doing the make it rain gesture.
Yeah, so we'll see where that leads them.
And in the meantime, the Nets signed Thanos, Darkseid, and Negan from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, fuck what the Nets did. They didn't do shit.
They still ain't going to be there.
Yeah. I mean, so the Knicks obviously looking to be players in next offseason. So hopeful. A little upset that they didn't make bigger moves with obviously a team that's good enough to make the playoffs. But, hey, we'll just strap it to Julius Randle's back, and just let him carry us for 48 minutes a night going into the playoffs because, hey, Tom Thibodeau, you ain't sitting.
Yeah.
So, and then some other deals that were kind of a note. The Clippers landed Rajon Rondo, so apparently feeling like they needed another defensive-minded point guard to back up Patrick Beverley. So nothing there. Also trading away one of their best offensive pieces in Lou Williams. So
yeah, surprised about that one.
Weird there. JJ Redick got his wish to be removed from New Orleans and cut a vicious promo today on a podcast. If you haven't seen that, go seek that out. Basically, verbally ripping the Pelicans organization to shreds, saying how he had wished to be moved the first month in the season, that he was promised that it would happen. It did not. He was traded at the deadline. He asked to go to an East Coast team. They traded him to Dallas. So JJ Redick, unfortunately, not very happy. The Heat landed Oladipo. So, adding more weapons to an already dangerous team. They also made another move for Belichica out of Sacramento. So the Heat only getting scarier with more offensive weapons. And Aaron Gordon, probably, arguably the biggest name traded, going from the Dallas Orlando Magic to the Denver Nuggets. Overall, though, pretty quiet trade deadline.
This just in, the Brooklyn Nets signed to the Anti-Monitor.
Yeah, and the Brooklyn Nets, obviously, they were able to strike a deal with Blake Griffin. I think that happened last week.
Yep.
And then they were able to acquire the services of
LaMarcus
Aldridge, who was bought out by the San Antonio Spurs after the trade deadline.
And I got to admit, Nets memes don't often make me laugh because it's like, yeah, whatever. But the one that was on Facebook of the portal scene from Endgame, where it's Thanos is sitting there and it's LeBron's face, but then the Avengers Assemble scene, and it's all the players on like the Nets would be the next starting roster are the Avengers. I'm like, no, yeah, that's pretty much how it feels right now.
Yeah, I would say something mean, but I don't want Kevin Durant to come after me in my DMs. So
I'll say it. Fuck Kevin Durant.
Oh God! Oh no, Pat! Oh no! But seriously, I mean, for a guy who didn't want to play with superstars, now kind of surrounded by him. So
yeah, you can't really make that comment.
Wrong.
I mean,
weird.
You left the team to join the one that beat you, and then obviously you couldn't handle being the second fiddle there. So
now you're the third fiddle. So
now you're the third, going on fourth probably because
no, he's definitely still the third.
Well, he's still the third, but I'm just saying
he's the 20th wheel on an 18-wheeler.
But with that whole setup in Brooklyn, like, listen, super teams rarely work out. I will say this. I love the moves the Heat did.
Yeah. Dude, I watched, obviously last year going into the bubble, I was kind of cheering for the Heat because Jimmy Butler has now become my spirit animal.
Yes.
And then now seeing the Knicks ascend into, a bubble, a hinge playoff team was painful to watch that Knicks Heat game the other night because, by God, it reminded me of the old days and it made me tear a little bit with just hard-nosed, scrappy teams hustling for loose balls, getting chippy in key moments. It was great. Projecting wise, looking down the road, it's very potential that the Knicks Heat might have a playoff series.
I'm here for that.
Which is dumb when you think about it. This Knicks team, I talked about it with my buddy at work. I go, is it wild the fact that if the Knicks make the playoffs, Thibodeau has to be coach of the year?
He's coach of the year.
He has to.
He
is.
There's
no way. There's no way.
It's not. I'm not even saying this is a homer pick.
Right. He has to be.
The fact that he made that chicken salad.
Yeah.
Listen, you got to give it to him.
Dude,
you can't say otherwise.
I was sitting here, I'm thinking, all right, well, if the Lakers, but they still, all right. But, obviously, if the Suns make the playoffs and have a high seed, that there might
I
be
could see.
an
I could
argument
see Phoenix getting it.
Yeah, for coach of the
Like
year
I would.
there.
Like I wouldn't object if Phoenix got it.
Right,
Let's
like
just say that.
would make sense too. But I mean,
If
with
Brooklyn gets it, Steve Nash gets it. I'm
oh
done.
my God, I would be pissed.
Yeah.
Like your first, all right, your first time head coach, but dude, you're a first time
You're
head coach.
surrounded by an all-star team.
By the fucking Monstars. Like
Yeah.
you better be winning games.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, Thibodeau, I feel like has to be in at least consideration. RJ Barrett is, I will say it for the rest of my life. For a 20-year-old kid, his future's pretty bright, so he better wear some shades.
I thought he was a bust.
Yeah, I thought he was too. Weird.
Weird.
Basketball
Weird.
eyes. Basketball eyes will tell you he is, but stats and numbers wise will tell you he's playing pretty damn well. So
Facts.
kind of awkward to argue against stats.
Yeah,
But some people do love to do that. Talking politics, but life. So. I'm just really hopeful. And then a bit of, in my other flip side on the entertainment news, the party, as they put it, up, down, down, Mr. One, Xavier Woods, celebrating 1 year of playing Uno today.
Oh, congratulations.
I mean, these guys had started doing it during COVID while they were in quarantine, and kind of wrestling was up in the air. So they just started, 4 guys, Tyler Breeze, Cesaro and Adam Cole just started playing Uno. I picked up on it in about week 4, went back and watched the rest of it. Now, my wife and I have a very fun Wednesday night where we do the show and we go home, have dinner, and watch Uno together. And they're very funny. If you don't watch it, I suggest the Up, Down, Down channel. It is great. A lot of interviews, a lot of insight into the wrestling business. Xavier Woods does a great job. The rest of the group does too. And Superman and Lois had their mid-season wrap-up,
Yes.
I guess you can say.
Well, first part wrap-up.
First part wrap-up, where we were left with the twerker, I guess. I don't know what they're calling this kid, picking up Superman's son and dumping him in the woods, knocking him unconscious, unable to get to the radio recorder to call Dad. So up in the air as far as what's going on there. And Superman, and we find out what Lex's big deal was with Lois and his obsession, because in his world, he was married to Lois.
Crazy way they did this
So
show.
quite the twist. Was not prepared for that. I definitely knew that they were going to have some sort of relationship where he was going to know that Lois was the key to Superman. But very interesting to see that it was the reverse, where he was the one who was married to her.
Yeah.
So that will be a very interesting play out as far as his obsession with her and what that will lead to. And and then it wrapped up on that cliffhanger. A great season preview to hold you
Hold you over
May.
to May.
Yeah, hold you over until May. So I'm very excited for that show to pick back up.
Yeah, definitely. CW is making some moves. I know they did a casting for Impulse for The Flash. The actor escapes me right now as we're talking, but but I'm loving seeing Bart Allen going to make his way to CW show.
Yeah.
So definitely CW has been making some quiet moves. I definitely have to say that. The Flash, I don't know. Like I got to do a rewatch.
It's just for me, like Aaron and I got behind on Flash, so we haven't caught back up. But it just feels like it just held on kind of like Arrow a little too long. I know these shows, like they have so much room as far as things go, but again, it's the 24 episode seasons. You're pressed up against it, and it just makes it very difficult to have the sort of every episode matter type feel, and that's kind of what Flash has felt like.
Well, the problem that they did is they botched up the Rogues Gallery. I mean, we've talked about this at many lengths, and the fact that you don't have that compelling of a main villain, and you had like Abracadabra, which, if you're not familiar with the Flash mythos, is a very well-known Flash villain, and you did another one and done with him. Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't pan out.
Right.
So unfortunately, they got to do some work, but if they're following the blueprint Superman and Lois is doing, it's going to be fun. Definitely did not have time to review Supergirl this week, so definitely I'll have something to talk about this week. So CW and Stargirl is coming back in the fall too, or in the summer too. Man, there's a lot of stuff coming to CW. A lot of stuff happening. I was too busy, unfortunately, watching Invincible this week.
Okay.
So now, are you both familiar with Invincible?
Heard of it, haven't seen it yet.
I heard of it, haven't seen it.
Okay, it's an Image comic done by Robert Kirkman. It's on Amazon Prime. They dropped the 3 episodes like how they usually do for their premieres. Fantastic. Loved it. Borrowed very much from the comic. Differed in a lot of different areas because it's basically the coming of age of a boy who is a son of basically a world Superman. and coming in age of the world that he's now being a part of. And it is definitely not for kids, extremely violent.
That's what I've heard.
Yes, and it lives up to the hype, though, I got to say. This was something very much worth watching. Episodes are pretty short. The premiere is about 50 minutes, and then you're roughly around the 40-minute range for the rest of the 3. So definitely something worth checking out, and definitely something to make sure you're saving on your players. Going back to the WWE, there was a bit of news that broke.
Wrestling,
because we got to talk some wrestling. We got to run the ropes a little bit. WWE has announced that NXT will be moving nights from Wednesday to Tuesday.
Vince is scared. AEW won the war.
Oh, I know. People are running crazy with that nonsense.
Hockey money talks more than wrestling money does.
And
Yes.
more importantly, fuck you guys, you marks. I'm so sick of it. Oh my God. After this the news went, I was just like, right. Goodbye, some people.
I did like the couple people I saw online that said if Vince gave a shit, this would have been over on Wednesday a long time ago.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I straight up, there was people that, were on our follow list. Mm-hmm. They got unfollowed because I couldn't take the AEW spewing garbage anymore. Like, listen, WWE didn't run from shit. They got moved because hockey talks and ratings talk and hockey draws, and they have Wednesday night hockey, baby. It's been a thing forever, and they had to move it to allow the NHL to do their thing.
Yeah, it's something that AEW fans are going to need to realize, too, because hockey is eventually going to ESPN.
Yeah, I mean, and let's remember, NXT is a developmental brand.
Yeah.
AEW Wednesday Dynamite is your main roster show. If you were to put Raw or SmackDown on on either of those shows on that night, it wouldn't even be close.
It wouldn't even be a factor. I'm sorry. Until you can consistently draw $1 million a week on Dynamite.
In the initial thing, not with like the added in.
Oh, well, we're going to see when it happens April 14th. Because if Dynamite does not hit 1 million unopposed, there's a problem. If Dynamite does not consistently hit 1 million viewers each week for the month of April, there's a very big problem.
Saying for those of you who just like wrestling, well, this works for you because Impact is moving to Thursdays.
Yeah.
So there is now literally wrestling Monday through Friday.
I mean, and let's face it, like AEW's not drawing
No.
as well as, I mean, I know 18 to 25 looks real great, but you keep putting old WCW and WWE guys as your main headliners. Let's see where 18 to 35-year-olds are watching then.
Exactly.
Especially when those numbers are going up for Raw and SmackDown the last couple weeks.
Funny how that works out. But it's going to be interesting to see when this all plays out. Obviously, it's coming off WrestleMania week, so NXT should have a big debut, and then where they go moving forward. I mean, hey, now you can watch both shows. Like, I usually have to watch one on tape delay, so this kind of frees me up for some action. And we'll have to see. Like I said, the challenge is now thrown to AEW. Can you consistently do 1 million? We're going to have to kind of see it as we move forward, too. For more wrestling talk, though, obviously join us Thursdays on twitch.tv/607podcast for an episode of 607 TWS where Rich from 3FN and I talk some wrestling, and we deep dive into all subjects. So trust me, we're going to have a lot to say about that this week. And then let me close off here with a review we did for Parlay Points, and definitely want to shout out everybody over at Valiant Comics. Shout out to Greg Katzman and the crew over there because we got retweeted for our review of Shadow Man. Now, are both you gentlemen familiar with Shadow Man?
No.
Okay. So I'm an old school Valiant comic fan. So I do know who Shadow Man is.
I do watch their Valiant YouTube page, though, and they do a great job over there with their character rundown. So they filled me in on a lot of things that I didn't know. So kudos to you guys.
Absolutely. The first issue is going to be dropping April 28th. So you can still make some time to go to your local comic shop and definitely talk about it. I will say this. We were lucky enough to get the first issue sent to us, and it is fantastic. If you have not picked up the story of Jack Boniface, you definitely need to check it out. It is a perfect balance of supernatural and superheroics. It's a great read to pick up. Cullen Bunn is writing it. John Davis Hunt is drawing it. Jordi Belair is on the colors. Clayton Cowles is on the letters. And Heather Antos is overseeing the project, too. It's a great comic. Like I say, it doesn't feel, for a character that's been around since the 90s, it doesn't feel old. It doesn't feel dated. It feels very fresh. Now, the whole thing about Jack is, I mean, obviously he's like a family curse that has been passed down through generations involving him. So he has to balance the line between the dead and the living, and he gets a little powers going on from the Shadow Loa. It is a very cool character if you haven't seen. Very visually, it's impressive. And this run picks up right where it left off. They open up with a great reader's page so you can jump in. So if you're not sure about what it is, it gives you a 101. So you can literally pick up the issue for the first time and understand what's going on. Davis Hunt's art is freaking fantastic on this. It doesn't feel too scary. It doesn't feel too dated. Fight scenes, like I'm going to show you guys right here, are very energetic.
Oh, yeah.
You can see the
Colorful.
this does not look like your typical horror comic, but it definitely teeters on the imagery. And like I said, the story, I don't want to even go spoiler about this, is really hitting the horror aspect. Bunn does an amazing job of giving that dark feel to the book. And like I say, for somebody that's read Shadow Man from the 90s and throughout his various incarnations, this was a great book to pick up. It definitely hits the ground running about the new direction they're taking the character. And the overall vibe is this is not your same old Shadow Man. And I have to say, if you're looking for something new to pick up at the comic shops, I would definitely go down there, put this in your pull list. This is a must-add. And moving forward, I can't wait to see what they're going to be doing with it. And there was a panel at WonderCon this past weekend virtually, so if you want to find out even more about that, you definitely need to check it out. And like I said, April 28th, Shadow Man is dropping at your local comic shop, so you definitely need to go put that in your pull list ASAP. It is definitely worth picking up at the shops. So kudos to everybody there at Valiant, and thank you again for allowing us to review it, and hopefully we get the chance to do some more moving forward. So that all being said, the music you heard on this edition of the ODPH is that of Brian Wolf. He's our friend from Fair City Fire. He's doing some Patreon concerts every Wednesday on social media. Pad, where do I go to find out about him?
OchoZeroParlayHour.com.
Right on. You go over and check the music section. You can find out everything going on with Brian, everything going on with Shout at the Robots. They're another amazing band that's got a lot of stuff in tow for 2021. You can check out everything going on with Second Suitor, Tom Jolu, Floodlands, Yard Party, all the great musicians you hear here on the ODPH. You can also swing by the directory, check out friends of the show, organizational links supporting Black Lives Matter, all the amazing pod groups we're in, and shout out to our friends over at 8122 Productions, Rich Ron, Mike C, and hashtag Big Natty Cool. He is still on Twitter, Coach.
Dangerous.
It is dangerous. It always is. But $1 gets you in the door. $3 gets you a comfy seat at the table, and you can have all the Dr. Derek you want. And if you sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/8122productions. All of that, links to the blogs, links to the streaming, links to the TikTok, links to the TeePublic store, and so much more can be found at ochodoroparlayhour.com. That's all I got for this week. So for your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy.
Good night, and enjoy the movie, guys.
Hey, thank you very much for the one and only Padawan J.
Thank you.
And I'm your host, Ken M. And as an editorial, Snyderverse fans, quit one-star bombing Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yo, keep it up, guys.
You stop that, Coach.
Don't listen to Ken.
You stop that right now.
Restore the universe.
No.
Restore the faith.
You stop that right now.
I won't do it until we get what we want.
You stop that.
You GameStop Warner Brothers. You keep doing what you're doing.
No, you stop that, folks, right now. It's
All
different
right,
studios.
Give them 2 stars.
You give them more than that. I'm very excited for this movie. We're going to go see it tonight. We'll probably have some live tweets going out from the movie
Not
theater.
while you're in the movie
not
theater.
While we're
you're not.
No, before and after. No, of course not. Of course
all right.
not. No, I do not encourage getting a camera out
Good.
or live tweeting during. No, you don't get any spoilers. You're not going to find out who won. You're going to just find out a very quick yay, or I'm just not even going to tweet about it.
I'll let you.
It's the Fast and Furious of monster movies. We're not there for the plot. We're there to watch them destroy shit.
I got my Aaron and my son are watching it right now, so I'll find out what it's like when I get home.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'm super excited about, and to see it on a big screen, I can't wait to do because theaters are open back here finally, and more are slowly open by May. That's the big announcement. So we're definitely excited to get back to the theaters and check this out and see who is going to be throwing down on the showdown here. And definitely shout out to our good friends over at Crossover Collision. They did the Godzilla vs. Kong episode this past week with our good friend Rich.
Nice.
So definitely something worth checking out. So we got to get going to the movie theaters. Thank you, as always, for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. We'll see you next time.